Have you wondered about weird pop culture beyond the 80s and 90s and what Amy, Aaron, and Heath have to say about it? So have we. Join us on Patreon for bonus episodes and exclusive content where we explore the 2000s, go down weird rabbit holes, and more. Plus, you could send us your own fuzzy memories, unmitigated gall, and other messages for a chance to play them on air. It's all on Patreon. Find the link in the show notes. So hey guys.
Hey.
Hey.
How we feeling?
I'm feeling good.
Excellent.
I'm all right.
Okay. I'm
No
feeling
complaints.
stuffed up. I'm going to tell you that.
Well,
Weird allergies
Weird.
happening now.
I mean, my eyes are on fire.
Oh,
but
okay.
Yeah, other than that. But that's normal for me. I always feel
Right.
like, yeah,
We're
yeah.
just bypassing normal
Yeah.
pains and aches and all the stuff. Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
So, did we talk about gall? Speaking of aches and pains
Oh,
and all
yeah.
the things.
Not me first.
Not you first? Did you forget your gall? Okay. Well, I
It'll be a surprise for all of us.
including you.
Oh my God. Okay.
Did you remember it yet? No.
I know. I had to not.
You will.
When I concentrate too hard on it, it won't come. God, I've read. That's so embarrassing. Okay.
Well, I can go
Ooh.
first then. Okay.
Okay.
So my gall sort of has to do with allergies and
Oh,
stuff, but
yes.
it's the pressure to go out and play because
Oh.
it is getting to be nice weather now. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is no surprise to anyone, but I was an indoor kid.
Okay.
And I spent many a summer vacation reading just books inside, looking outside. Don't want to go out there. But my parents would always say, go out, go play, go do your thing. And I'd be like, I don't even, what is playing? Like, how does one play? What am
Right.
I supposed to do outside besides just sit and get hot and be miserable and have bugs? And I'm going to tell you, nothing has changed. I feel the exact same way about the outside. And that the gall then is that their voice is still in my head. Anytime the weather turns, I start feeling like, oh man, I should go outside. I should go outside and play. And I don't know what that is.
It is funny that there's this undue pressure you're feeling. Like, I gotta go toss a frisbee around.
Yes. Or even just, I have a nice patio, I have a catio, and I'm like, I should go out there and do something, but I have no idea what to do. And immediately if I go out there and I'm reading a book, I'm uncomfortable. I hate it. So I stay inside and then I feel guilty. So this time of year, I can just kiss my ass. I don't know who I'm trying to impress at this point, but someone in my brain keeps telling me to go outside and play, and I say, fuck you. So in conclusion, I will stay inside. And
As
that
you
is,
should.
yeah.
I remember as a kid, like being at my grandmother's house during the day, like she was sort of babysat us, and I remember by the afternoon she'd be like, "You should go outside and do something," because I'd spent all morning watching The Price is Right and and game shows, and then you have lunch, and then I'd watch Days of Our Lives because the Salem Strangler was on, and I want to know who they were going to
Oh
kill
my
next.
God, of course.
Yes.
Yes.
And it was always like, go outside, and it's like, why?
Yeah.
I've been inside all day. I've been doing all right.
Yeah.
I was
What's
very
out
lucky
there?
to have all grandmas that were inside people, so they were never like, go outside. They were like, do you want another Fig Newton while we watch the next program? And I was like, yes, I do. I sure do.
And this is how much I hated it. Like both of my grandmas that I hung out the most with, hardcore smokers. And I would have much rather stayed inside and ingested all of that
Yeah.
and just lived in that haze than go outside.
Mm-hmm.
It's dumb out there.
Well, nothing's really changed since we were kids as far as outside goes. So
If
you're not
anything's,
missing anything.
if anything's changed, it's hotter and there's more bugs
well,
and more things that can kill us. So no, I say no. I'm
Yeah.
going to stay inside and play.
What would the world be if we were all outside people?
It'd be miserable. And also, if you go on a dating app, everyone fucking talks about, I'm an outside person. I love the water. I love the lake. Well, no, thank you.
That's all lies. Who loves it that much that that's like an important piece of information? to
Almost
give?
every heterosexual man in the world, apparently, that is on. Yeah, I know. Once you get into the girls, which of course I'm bi, so I look at both, the girls, they are more realists.
Oh, I
they
like
talk
that.
about
Okay.
things that are actually important and things that are of interest. The guys, most are just trash. And they're showing pictures of dead fish and dead animals, talk about how much they love to go out on boats.
Oh,
None of this is making me horny. None of
Oh,
it.
it sounds like you're going to murder me off a boat.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
Exactly. If I go outside, I could get murdered.
Yeah.
If I stay inside, I could die from falling down the stairs, but at least I won't be murdered.
At least it's of my own will.
Yes.
I mean, or my own klutziness, however you want to look at
Exactly.
it. But I didn't get taken out on a boat and thrown overboard.
I didn't get tricked into going outside and playing.
Yes. So you're not up for our annual jarts tournament.
Can we do it in my attic?
You can stay on the porch and just throw your jarts
That's
from the
that's a
porch.
good idea.
There you
I could
go.
do that. I could do that.
Porch
Yeah.
charts.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Did you remember yours?
I did.
Okay.
Mine is actually it's the unmitigated gall of programming.
Oh.
Let me explain.
Okay.
Let me explain.
I think we got it.
Done. Understood.
Understood. Okay, Mike and I look forward to Friday night that we get a couple new murder shows in Dateline and 2020 both air on Friday night. And that's no matter what else we have going on Friday night, that's like our wind down time. Once we get into bed, we watch a little bit of the murder and then it takes us a few nights because we invariably fall asleep. So my unmitigated call is who the fuck isn't communicating between Dateline and 2020? Because this has happened now more than once. I'm leaning towards 5 times where the story is the exact same in both episodes. And it was
Like
one
they're covering the same murder?
exactly.
Oh.
And
But
it
not
was
from different angles or anything?
I'm
but like,
sure, but like you know the story, so it's like
Yeah.
a lot less interesting. And it was one that we had already seen before on like a 48 hours. So we already knew the story. So we go to the first one, boom, we're like, oh, we know this guy. And then we're like, okay, well, we'll just watch the 2020. We go, and I'm like, are you kidding me? How on the same night are you doing the same program? Are you competing head to head for something? Like, why is this happening? And I just think a simple email back and forth would solve all these problems for me. Mike's theory is that there's a mole at Dateline.
oh,
And that they're feeding the stories to 2020 so they can go head to head and see who did it better.
interesting.
But I was like, that's a lot of people that would be, I mean, I would assume a production calendar, there's some similarities in when you're interviewing people and cutting things together. And I'm like,
Yeah, like when you're out in the field, like talking to people, like somebody would mention, like, by the way, Dateline was here like yesterday afternoon.
yeah, like not that long ago.
Right.
So it's just a disappointment, and it's happened a few times. If it was a one-off at first, I thought, wow, that's weird. Like how it was almost like a cool anomaly. No, I'm not
Anomaly?
going to say
Anomaly?
that word.
Anomaly?
Yeah.
You got it.
Anomaly.
You got it.
Anomaly in Paris.
That. But then when it happened again, and then again, and now again, I don't like it.
You can't be the only one upset because, there's a lot of people that like their murders.
They
So,
do. And a lot of
yeah.
people watch all 3 of those programs. And I'm not, I've lost all shame in admitting that. So I don't feel bad about it. And I want something different on both programs. I'm sorry. I sound like my I sound like an elderly lady. I want my programs right.
I want my stories.
Yeah. I want them coming to me right.
All right, Heath, what's your unmitigated goal?
I was gonna, my unmitigated goal was gonna be these motherfucking birds.
Oh, okay.
Because
Yeah.
there's birds in the tree outside my bedroom
Yeah.
window, and they're loud. But I think after additional reflection, I think it's gonna be prom.
Oh.
Not prom in general, because like my niece is going to prom this week, so I mean she's looking forward to it. I think I live downtown, and and Aaron, has had to experience this. The whole thing before prom, where the whole family goes to a new location to take a bunch of photos,
Which was never a thing for us,
No.
right? Like, I mean,
We
maybe
did like one at the house.
Right.
And yeah.
Yeah. I mean, maybe some people did, but it wasn't as well-trod territory as it is now, right? Yeah.
But yeah, like yesterday was like the 3rd Saturday in a row, where just downtown at late afternoon on a Saturday, early evening, it's just the streets are just clogged with people's parents trying to get prom photos.
Are they trying to get it like on the bridge right across from you?
There are
And, like,
some there. The World Food Prize is not super far from where we live, and they have
yeah.
a really nice garden that looks, looks good all the time. It looks especially good in the springtime, and so there's lots of people there, and that's fine. Take your pictures. Get out of the fucking streets, because like yesterday we drove by that, and there were 3 different adult men just in the middle of the street, not paying attention to what's going on, trying to get photos and just looking, and it's like. Last week I was driving by it, and these people stopped in the street because they saw someone else they knew who was taking pictures of their kids and were waving and like, say, hey, how are you? And it's like,
God,
get out
this
of the
is not
way.
the suburbs.
Right. Just, if you want to talk to them, great. Find a place to park your car and get out and go talk to them.
It's actually it's the worst. Like, as someone who's now on my third child going through prom, I've been to a lot of I've been to the sculpture garden.
Mhm.
I've been to waterworks. I've been to some random parks. And every single one, yeah, it's the same. Why? But also why? Why are we doing this? We already got the pictures and the dresses. I mean, at some point, I have all these pictures on my camera roll, and what am I going to do with all your prom pictures someday when you're older and you're married to someone else? Like, you know what I mean?
Hey, remember when you dated this?
Yeah.
Twat? I was going to say skank, and I was like, that's outdated. No.
Yeah, twat was good. Yeah. I mean, except for my oldest child who did marry the person. That
Yeah.
prom
But
with.
she's not a skank or a twat.
No, she's the only like person, you know. Not to say anything about Evan or whatever, but yeah, it's a weird thing. And they coordinate and they're like, we got to go here. Then the worst is when they say we're going to go to multiple places. No, you get one extra location, in my opinion. You don't get to go to multiple locations.
And do you find it's mostly the parents driving this, not the kids?
I think it's I don't like to gender things, but I think it's mostly the females.
the girls getting. Yeah.
They want a second location. They want some better shots. They want something different.
Yikes.
Yeah.
And I know there are hotels downtown like that have signs in the lobby that say you can't take prom pictures here because
Oh my
it had gotten
gosh.
to be so bad. There were so many people in there,
Yeah.
and just it was
Yeah, it's
causing
too
problems for
much.
the guests. And so now they're just like, nah.
I remember, like before prom, my parent or my mom, like trying to take pictures of us in our house.
Yeah.
And even that, I was like, I hate every single thing about this. I just take the fucking picture and let us go.
I'm going to tell you something that you would hate so much.
Okay.
It would have completely prevented you from going to prom.
Okay.
Because I went to a small Catholic high school, for some reason there's a tradition called promenade where after you get with your date, you literally have to line up in the gym and they say the two people that are going prom together, you walk out on the stage, you have to walk down like a carpet to like all the parents are in the gym.
What?
And there's like a picture taken at the end of the thing and then
But what if you decide to go to prom with like just your friends or
you
Yeah.
don't walk in promenade then.
Oh no. That seems not like the right thing to do.
Right, correct. That's the
Yeah, I
correct-
mean, all
yeah.
of that seems like not the right thing to do.
Uh-huh.
Like, why are we putting this much pressure on teenage relationships?
Uh-huh.
They didn't do it when I was in high school, but they do now at my old high school where every parents, they go take the pictures, but they all show up at high school and watch people get out of the car and walk in. And I'm always just like, do you not have anything else to do? Like,
This
just
is
your
so
kids out of the house,
weird.
like, go out to dinner.
That's
just
exactly it. I have a free night. Like, I want to go do something. I want to go eat.
Yeah.
I don't, this is too much time.
It makes me sick just thinking about it all. Ugh.
But I will say, good luck to all of the servers out there who
Oh,
have
yeah.
who have to wait on kids going to prom who get like a Sprite and some French fries and then leave a 10-cent tip.
Well, yeah, that's some good gall. Okay, so recap from our last episode. I'm first going to go out on a limb and say it was a killer episode. We talked about a lot of things.
did.
A lot of good things. I talked about Behind the Music, VH1.
Love it.
I talked about the McCoy septuplets.
Wild.
Yeah.
Anne Curry.
Yeah, that was not the main thrust of the story in my mind. It was the 7 babies coming out of one lady. But yeah. Like a fucking clown car, I think he said at one point.
I saw a clip online the other day of Joan Rivers, like back a long time ago when she was guest hosting The Tonight Show, and she was talking to somebody in the audience. She's like, "Oh, what's your name?" And the woman's like, Carol.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, tell me about yourself." And she's like, "Oh, I have 6 kids." And Joan Rivers so quick was like, "Did you have them in litter or one by one?" And it was so fast. The way she said it back it was very funny.
Yeah. Gross. Also gross was Fen. This was the year when
This was the year.
came out, and then whoops, later on, holes in your heart. So that was a bummer.
Whoops.
Whoops.
Sorry about that.
Aaron, you introduced us to football jail at the Philadelphia Eagles football court.
It tracks, doesn't it?
Yes. You talked about the Versace murder.
When you said football court, I was going to be like, no, it's a field. But you meant court like as in court of law. basketball court.
I just don't know my sports. Yeah. And you also talked about Tamagotchi pets.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know was basically just murdering the electronic pets. It was very weird.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Heath, you brought us 2 volcano movies. With just some really delightful plot points in those movies. Volcano and Dante's Peak.
They could have benefited like 2020 and Dateline by some communication.
Coordination.
They were
Yeah,
covering a lot of the
exactly.
same ground.
Yeah.
You also talked about some failed must-see TV shows.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of them.
There
was
were
a
so
lot
many
of
good
them.
ones in that. Oh my gosh.
And then you talked about the dual versions of How Do I Live?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Again.
A 14-year-old singing about How Do I Live?
How do I live? More feeling, Leanne.
Really feel it,
Yeah,
teenager.
we're gonna do another take and act like you've lost something really important.
My husband's father used to tell this story about when he was at a talent show or something like that, and when my husband was in high school, and there was like an 11-year-old singing "Save the Best for Last," and he just thought it was very funny that like
Yeah,
a
it's like
fifth
that
grader
song.
is singing that song. And it's like, well, hopefully you got some stuff ahead of you, ma'am. Like,
Yeah, if you're already there.
Yikes. That just feels like a world-weary viewpoint of
Right.
singing that at 11.
Uh-huh.
That feels like something you would do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It sure does.
Since you were middle-aged in high school. Yeah.
Were you ever in a talent show?
No.
Okay,
Oh.
that felt like an important follow-up question.
I think we used to have to do skits for like homecoming. Like each class would have to do a skit, and so I was in 1 or 2 of those.
Did you ever play any instruments or anything?
I played the trumpet.
So did I.
So
Nice.
does Mason and Evan.
Yeah. Well, I remember absolutely nothing. Do you remember anything?
It took me years to figure out the tongue thing where you had to put the tongue like behind your top teeth.
Yep.
Like it took me a long time to figure that out. So
Tongue action.
yeah. And I played until I was a sophomore in high school, and the only reason I did is because we were going to Disney World to March.
nice. That's fair.
And we had known that a couple of years ahead of time, and had we not been doing that, I would probably not have played in high school.
Way to use the system.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
This is just a side note. The 5th graders in Norwalk have to do this wax museum project every year where they have to they get to pick a figure that they think's important, and then they put a whole trifold presentation, and then they have to dress up like that figure, and you get to go around and hear their little presentation. So Mason picked Louis Armstrong because he felt like he was the most influential trumpet player.
Okay.
My son took it to another degree and comes home and says, I got to add a special section to my trifold. And it was both. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, I asked the teacher if we could do fun facts, and we could add a section of fun facts. And I said, oh, what's your fun fact? Louis Armstrong went to jail when he was 11 because he shot a gun. And I was like, that's what you put on your presentation? He's like, yeah, she was kind of surprised too. But then she said anyone else could put fun facts too.
It's very fun.
That is fun. That's a fun fact.
That's a fun fact. Yeah, and came out with it so fast. We were like, oh, okay.
Your son is a treasure. He's an absolute treasure.
And then not 20 minutes later said, do I have a suit? I said, no. What?
I have a suit. Like you've just been hiding a suit.
Yeah,
in the
like,
back.
oh, yeah, I do, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
Mhm.
So I'll go first for 1997. And this was the year that Buffy the Vampire Slayer premiered. And I got to admit, I did not watch it when it first came out. It was only a few years later when I moved to Chicago and I became friends with a super fan named Amy. And we watched Buffy every week.
Is
She
this
used to
like
live.
your alter ego? Is this like
Yes.
did you have a mental split?
She's real, okay? I can text her right now just to show you.
She has 2 cell phones.
You'll hear the ping in the other.
Yeah.
See?
Anyway, we'll just leave that for listeners to puzzle over and see if that's real or not. So anyway, Buffy the Vampire Slayer debuted in March 1997. Followed Buffy, who's a high school student, who also happens to be the Slayer, the one girl in all the world chosen to fight back the vampires, the demons, all the bad stuff, the monsters. But she also just wants to go to prom. She wants to get her picture taken at the hotels in downtown Des Moines.
Yeah.
And maybe not die in the process. So this was created by Joss Whedon, and he had originally created a movie in 1992, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, with Christy Swanson, Luke Perry,
Paul Rubens.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Paul Rubens. And it was very sort of campy. It was fun. Like, I really enjoyed it when it came out, but apparently it was not what Joss had envisioned when he created it. He wanted it to be a little darker. It just wasn't quite his tone that he had hoped for.
Okay.
So he decided to make it into a show.
Oh.
And made it a little bit, like I said, darker, a little bit deeper, more horror and drama together, but lots of comedy at the same time. And so the first season, it kind of took a little bit to get going, but then by season 2, 3, 4, like it was a critical hit. It was never a big, very popular hit. It became a cult classic later on. Never got like Emmy recognition or anything like that because, no one loves the sci-fi. After 5 seasons on the WB was suddenly like, nope, no more. So they moved to UPN, which was a huge deal at the time because UPN was new and UPN became CW.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, I do not remember UPN at all. CW.
Yeah,
gotcha.
UPN and WB became one network.
Oh.
It was the CW.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, this was the time when the WB was doing lots of like Dawson's Creek, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, like a bunch of teen shows like that. Some and by the way, when they moved over to UPN, because apparently no one knew where UPN was, and they were like, we can get away with anything. Shit got dark. It got real dark in season 6 and season 7. But some types of storylines. Okay, Buffy is a vampire slayer, but she falls in love with a vampire named Angel. And the first time they have sex, Angel has a soul, so he's a good vampire.
Oh.
The first time they have sex, she sucks that soul right out of him, and he becomes a bad vampire.
Pardon me.
Another great storyline was there's supposed to only be one Slayer in the world, right? But Buffy died for a few minutes, so another Slayer got activated, and that was Faith, Eliza Dushku, and she was kind of a bad Slayer, so it was Slayer against Slayer.
Oh, no.
It was awesome.
Yeah. Just a real quick backtrack.
Yeah.
Just died for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then she came back to life.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like with medical intervention or just like her own
Someone
will?
gave her CPR.
Oh.
Unfortunately, it was not her boyfriend, Angel, because he has no breath. So it had to be her best friend who actually had a crush on her, Xander. So he got to make out with her and bring her back to life. Yeah,
Xander, that's not a makeout.
Yeah, no.
That seems like there was no consent.
Yeah.
No consent at all. Also, Willow was the nerdy sidekick for a while, but then she went on to become a power lesbian and a witch.
Oh, wow. Good for her.
And it was a big, big deal when they had a kiss on screen. But of course, it was one of the trailblazers of the kill your gays trope, where poor Tara got killed off, and then Willow went real bad.
Oh.
So, excellent show. Loved the show. Like I said, I only got into it a few seasons in, but as soon as I started watching it, I got obsessed. So I would go home. It was airing on like TNT or TBS or something like that. So I would record all the old episodes on VHS, come home, watch a couple episodes at night, catch up. It was great.
Oh.
For a while, I was a real big Joss Whedon fan. Then guess what? He turned out to be a creep.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So in 2021, Charisma Carpenter, who played Cordelia, accused him of abusive and toxic behavior on Buffy and the spinoff Angel, including body shaming her during her pregnancy and retaliating against her. One of the other stars, Michelle Trachtenberg, who recently died, said a rule was put in place that Whedon was not allowed to be alone with her. Sarah Michelle Gellar, who is the star, she's said kind of vague things. She's never really gone on record and said that he's a creep, but you can kind of infer from there.
Well, stand up better, Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Yeah. He also, at one point, got jealous, apparently, of the guy that played Spike, who was another vampire who eventually got a soul. Buffy and Spike had a very interesting, sometimes violent relationship. It was hot as fuck, though. So, at one point, Spike was becoming a fan favorite, and apparently Joss Whedon threw him up against the wall and said, "You're not gonna be the big star you think you are." It was so fucking random, this weird story, but it sounds kind of right. Anyway, the show was shot on a budget. You can tell a lot of it. The beginning, the first few episodes especially, some of the CGI is real bad. It feels like it's puppet stuff happening. It's real. It's real bad.
Puppet stuff is hot.
Yeah. But we didn't care. And it got better over time, and the storylines it got into all sorts of. Ultimately, it was a metaphor, right? Of going through teen years and everything, and then into college, and then, she faces death all the time. But at one point, her mom died, and it was this whole just a fantastic show. Too bad it was led by a creep, but pretty much everything we're learning that has been good in our lives has been led by creeps. So. Yep. There's that.
Now I have that TLC creep song in my head. Thanks.
Then creep.
Yeah, just
creep it on the down low.
Oh, good. We can do all the parts. Oh.
You're up.
All right, I'm up. In 1997, special group broke through on the music scene.
Oh.
And we've gotten a lot of things from it, let me just tell you.
Oh.
And that group is Destiny's Child.
Oh.
It's an American musical girl group whose final lineup comprised Beyonce Knowles, Kelly Rowland, and Michelle Williams.
Mm.
And when I tell you that I was obsessed with Destiny's Child, it was next level.
Oh, okay.
I knew all the B-side songs. I knew everything. Loved them so much. So much. They actually began their musical career as Girls' Tyme. Time spelled with a Y.
Yep.
Formed in 1990 in Houston.
Why with a Y?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't get it.
I don't either.
All right.
To be
Time,
different.
maybe.
Because maybe there's a Y in Beyonce. I don't know.
Oh, it was already a nod.
Oh.
Well, there's a Y in Kelly Rowland too, but not Michelle Williams.
Well, but she wasn't there at the beginning either.
True, yeah. So maybe that is why they did the Y.
You're listening to science, everybody. Okay.
Yeah,
we're using clues and facts and
Obviously
evidence to figure
well-researched.
things out. So.
Yeah.
Like our own 2020 episode. Really drill down here.
You know what? I'll go ahead and make that my goal before we record again to find out why they chose time. Okay. After years of limited success, the original quartet, comprising Knowles, Rowland, Latavia Robertson, and LaToya Luckett, were signed in 1997 to Columbia Records as Destiny's Child, and they were launched into mainstream recognition following the release of the song No, No, No. Their best-selling second album, The Writings on the Wall, which was also my favorite, contained the number one singles, Bills, Bills, Bills.
Bills, Bills.
I'm trying to say this really, enunciated because otherwise I will start singing.
Oh.
Say My Name.
Say my name, say my name.
If no one is around you, say, baby, I love you. Alongside successful singles such as Bugaboo, also a great jam.
Mm-hmm. What I love about Bugaboo, though, is the references in the lyrics. You know when it came out because it's talking about cutting the AOL and
Yes, yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a very it really places
talking
itself.
about getting pages and your beeper and stuff like that. Yeah,
I like that though. When you can pinpoint when
Yeah.
a thing was made.
It felt right.
Yeah.
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 And also Jumpin', which was another classic that came from that. And one of my favorite connections, which obviously I didn't know at the time, this is pre-Housewives of Atlanta, but Candy Burris, who was one of the original members of Real Housewives of Atlanta, someone that I did like to watch on that show, famously co-wrote Bills, Bills, Bills and Bugaboo. And she's kind of been a prolific record producer and co-writer and things like that. But despite critical and commercial success, the group was plagued by internal conflict.
What?
Yeah. Shocking.
This is brand new information.
Shocking. And legal turmoil. Robertson and Luckett attempted to split from the group's manager, Matthew Knowles, citing favoritism of Knowles and Rowland. And so that's eventually how we ended up with the three of them. Although...
because LaToya, the two that left, and then Michelle Williams and another one came in, and then that fourth one only lasted a few months, and then she left, and they decided to be a trio. And I think it's because Beyonce's favorite number is 4, so she just wanted there to be 4 people.
Yeah. And I just want all the listeners to understand that I took this on because I love Destiny's Child, but I know that my love of Destiny's Child does probably not reach Heath's love of Beyonce Knowles. So to be clear, I like Beyonce. Don't get me wrong. I'm all in for Cowboy Carter. But my first love was really Destiny's Child. Was all that. I just
Without Destiny's Child, we wouldn't have the Beyonce we have
We
today.
wouldn't have
Right,
Beyonce.
exactly.
Yeah.
But dang, they were a good group. And it just felt right. It felt very like girl anthem, like women anthem-y sometimes, even though it was just about cheating boyfriends most of the time.
But when they did like Independent Women for Charlie's Angels,
All
that was pretty cool.
women Yeah, exactly. Even bills. I was like, yeah, you're not paying any of my fucking bills.
You're what, 15?
I'm like, you're not doing anything. What are you talking about? I loved it.
How did you feel when they reunited at the Super Bowl?
I could watch it over and over and over
Okay,
again.
all right.
I'd love a reunion tour. I would absolutely fly somewhere to see that.
Do you think that they would stay together long enough for a reunion
No.
tour? No.
I think they get along just fine. I just
Okay.
don't think Beyonce wants to be in a group anymore.
No,
Yeah,
no.
fair enough.
And I don't even
Yeah.
know if like her abilities would allow her to be in a group anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like she's such a performer and she's
Yeah.
come into that so much. Like I don't know how like even her stage awareness or anything would be appropriate for two other people. And I think that would be very clear. And it would be
Yeah.
probably her pulling most people, not necessarily like I want to see Destiny's Child. It would be like and honestly, that's a good, almost a philosophical question. Because can you ever see Destiny's Child again? Because with her being at the level of success she is, it's never just going to
It's
be
not
the
gonna be-
three of them
yeah.
again performing where they all kind of blend as a group. Like it's always
Right.
going to be Beyonce and these two other women.
It's like Diana Ross and the Supremes.
Yeah.
The Supremes, and then suddenly Diana Ross becomes a huge thing. And yeah.
yeah, you're not going to be, it's not going to be the same. So,
Yeah.
but man, I had a love for Destiny's Child. That
Mm.
just grew and grew. I remember in college that I was going somewhere. It wasn't with my roommate. It was with my roommate, but it was two other people on the floor. This is like my freshman year of college. And this song came on and myself and one other person in the car knew it. And I was like, we will be friends. And we
Oh,
were. Yeah, because I was
yes.
like, how did,
Mm-hmm. And you became friends? And
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we
Nice.
moved in. Yeah, we lived together all through college.
Okay.
And yeah.
You have an ability to spot that because you and I at a writing retreat, you looked at me when something real weird was going on, and we both apparently had a look on our face, and you're like, you.
Yeah, I was like, she gets it.
Yeah.
I'm going to gravitate to that one.
Mhm.
Also, she had a really cool leather jacket on. You did.
I did? Oh.
I was like, that's a dope jacket.
Okay.
The first night. I don't think you were wearing it when that incident that we're talking about
Okay,
happened,
all
but
right,
you were
all
the
right.
night before, and I was like, okay.
Oh, I think I
guess.
know what jacket. It was a dope jacket.
It was a
You're
dope
right. Yeah, it was a
jacket.
dope
Yeah,
one. Yeah.
it was
You
awesome.
still have it?
Yeah, I think it's in my closet.
Oh.
Like, yeah.
Yeah,
Alright.
it's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
I remember in, I think it was 2000, Destiny's Child played the Cattle Congress in Waterloo because they had booked it before the writings on the wall kind of blew up.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, for anyone that doesn't know, the Cattle Congress is basically a small version of, like, state fairgrounds. And, like, the place where they had concerts, they had a dirt floor. And, like, you would just put, like,
my
folding
That is
chairs out.
wild. Please
Yeah.
tell me you went.
No, I tried to. I tried to win tickets off the radio.
Oh.
I called the radio several times. Like, I would have it, like, on as I was at work all day. And I'm, like, not working. I'm just listening to the radio so I could, like, call and, Yeah, I did once. I remember calling it. I was like, did I win the Beyonce or did I win the Disney's Child tickets? And they're like, we haven't done the thing yet, man. Like, like I thought I had heard it and I didn't hear it. And it was, the guy.
Like, stop it, cheater.
Right,
Yeah.
Oh. Did you have it? Did I cover? I was really only focused on Destiny's Child, not Beyonce, but
No, yeah, I thought it was great.
okay.
Yeah.
I could just tell his posture changed a little when I started talking
Well,
about
I thought
Destiny.
you were going to talk about what I was going to talk about. And
Oh.
It's not the same
Okay.
group of people.
So what's yours?
Yours, yeah.
I was thinking about the Spice Girls.
Oh.
Also, yeah, that's also real
Uh-huh,
good.
uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
1997 was a huge year for the Spice Girls. But we got to kind of back up a little bit to sort of get all the history of these five ladies. In the early 1990s, someone named Bob Herbert and his son Chris Herbert decided.
Herbert.
Yeah.
That's what I named all my fictional people I drew. I always drew a fictional guy and I called him Herbert.
Wow.
You refer to him as Herb for short.
Nope,
Herb,
always
Herb.
Herbert.
All right.
Missed opportunity.
They decided, and I feel like this is weird the way people do this. Like they decided they want to like make a musical group. Like they do this with boy bands a lot.
Yes.
And I just think it's strange that like
It is.
people who are not musically talented and just maybe know somebody in the music industry just decide, oh, we're going to make a bunch of money off someone else's talent.
And then
Yeah.
shove a bunch of people together that probably aren't meant to be in a band
Right.
or a group or
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, they decided they wanted to make a girl group as sort of a counterpart to all the boy bands that were sort of, I mean, at this point they were kind of on their way out. This was before the second wave of later in the 90s, but they wanted to create a group of 5 very different women who would each appeal to a different audience. In February of 1994, they put an ad in the newspaper encouraging singers to come in and audition for the group, and 400-ish women showed up. So they had a big response.
Was this just in London or was it
Yeah.
like, okay, yeah.
After several rounds of auditions, the group, as we know it, had mostly been assembled. One of the singers from the original lineup of the Spice Girls was replaced by Emma Bunton, Baby Spice. For what the Herberts thought was a lack of commitment to the group by the woman who was dismissed. And this is probably just somebody who was just like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
Yeah, what's it? Wait, what?
It's like, do we,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
So the Herberts moved all 5 women into a house so they could get to know each other.
Oh, God.
Practice song. Like, yeah, this is different than just like, this is like if you apply, it feels like if you apply for a job and they're like, yeah, we'd like to hire you. By the way, this is where you live now.
Oh my
You live here with your
God.
coworkers.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And because they want a break, they're just like, yeah, sure, whatever. Yeah.
So yeah, they wanted them to live together so they could practice songs and record demos and work on choreography and all that stuff. And basically, they'd be around it. They'd be doing that all the time because they lived in this house and that was their day. The original name of the group was Torch, but decided to change it to Spice after they wrote a song called Sugar and Spice. So it was just Spice for a while.
What listeners can't tell is Aaron and I both have very skeptical, like confused faces on, which accounts for the silence that doesn't translate well
Yeah.
in an audio podcast.
My mind's a little blown because
why
why did we go
Torch?
backwards and add girls? Spice is
Yeah.
better, honestly, or even Torch is better than.
Well, they had what I read was as they sort of were getting more attention, like people in the industry would just call them the Spice Girls. So that was just sort of added on, and they were like, okay. And there was already a rapper that went by that name, so they.
Okay,
Okay,
that makes
changed it
sense.
to
I can
Spice
see that
Girls.
happening.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah.
So by late 1994, the group was starting to get pretty antsy because they still didn't have an official contract with the Herberts. They didn't have a record deal.
Jesus.
So after a successful performance at a showcase where there are lots of music industry professionals, the Herberts decided that they better get the group to sign a contract while they still had their chance because, it went really well, right? Not for the Herberts, for the Spice Girls.
This is so okay. I hadn't realized that the Herberts weren't really connected at all to the music. So they just randomly brought a bunch of girls and put them in a house and were like, make music for us, and then had no like plans.
I mean, there
to
was
make an
obviously
album.
secret cameras in there.
Yeah,
I have to
yeah,
believe.
and they're
I
just
mean,
masturbating like crazy to those cameras.
Yes.
So
You said the quiet part.
So the Herberts give them a contract. They want them to sign it. And they all 5 refused based on legal advice from Victoria Adams, who was later Victoria Beckham. Her dad was like, do not sign this. This is not a good contract.
Oh. So he was trying to take advantage of them.
Yeah. So the group decides to leave the Herberts. And when they did, they snuck into the recording studio and stole all their master recordings that they'd already finished. And so through contacts they made at the showcase, they found new songwriters, they found new producers and management to work with. And so
Good for them. I
while
didn't know
working
any
with
of this.
these new people, that's when they wrote and recorded Wannabe and Two Become One and Say You'll Be There, like some of their biggest songs, right? So at this point, there's lots of buzz around the group, and several record labels decide they want to sign them, and they signed with Virgin Records. And again, like I said, we talked about before, they changed their name from Spice to the Spice Girls. This is when they did that.
Okay.
So it's still 1996 when they released that first song, Wannabe, in the United Kingdom. And that was followed by Say You'll Be There and Two Become One. All 3 songs were huge hits in Britain. A magazine named Top of the Pops, which is a TV show I've heard of in Britain, but they have apparently at one point had a magazine. They wrote an article about the group and gave each woman in the group a nickname, and that's where
They did that.
yes, that's where Sporty Spice and Scary Spice and Ginger Spice and Baby Spice and Posh Spice. That's where they kind of all came from.
I kind of hate that.
I do too, because poor Scary Spice.
I know.
Right.
Yeah, they looked at her and they're like, well, the black girl has to be the
Right,
scary
that was
one.
always weird. It's like, why? Like, the
Jesus.
rest of them are complimentary names, except for Scary. And it felt weird.
And maybe Baby. That's kind of a
Yeah.
Baby Spice is kind of a rough one too. But
So in January of 1997, that's when they released "Wannabe" in the United States. It was interesting because basically that first album had come out and done all sorts of business in the United Kingdom and Europe, and then they kind of started over with the same stuff in the United States. So yeah, "Wannabe" went on to be a #1 song for like a month. It was the #1 song on the Billboard Hot 100. "Say You'll Be There" and "To Become One" were both released in the United States the months that followed, and their album "Spice" was the best-selling album of the year in the United States for 1997. It was
wow.
Yeah. It's a big, big hit. So later that year, they released the follow-up album, Spice World, and the lead single, Spice Up Your Life. And those were hits, but they just wasn't. At this point, as you probably both recall, we were all a little bit like,
We got
it's been
it.
a lot of Spice Girls.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's been kind of
Yeah.
a constant thing for the whole
We're
year.
full up on Spice Girls.
Yeah. Because they were really, really pushing them too. Like
Yes.
they were everywhere.
And they felt a little one-dimensional. Like it felt like
Yes.
kind of the same song all the time. Just
Well, and I think at least I was just like, this isn't like feminism. This is like weird girl power bullshit. Like I just
Yeah.
didn't like.
yeah, you had
I
one
just-
called Baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried to hate it. I ended up knowing all the words, but I tried to hate it. Yeah.
It was a valiant effort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I imagine by the end of 1997, they'd been singing the same 4 or 5 songs like constantly for 2
Yeah.
years. They probably, they just made another album out of necessity just to have something else to sing.
Yeah, truly.
Yeah, so the following year, in 98, Spice World was released, which was a movie that, it's a film.
It's a movie. Yeah. Uh-huh.
It's a movie.
It has Alan Cumming.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah, he's in it. Yeah. And then there was also a tour in 1998, and it was during that tour that Ginger Spice quit the group. Some say she would quit because she wasn't getting along with Scary Spice, with Mel B. But the official reason was exhaustion and disillusionment.
Oh. I was going to say exhaustion usually is, some sort of alcohol or drug thing, but like disillusionment, that's
Right.
interesting.
Yeah.
That feels a little straightforward.
Yeah.
Like-
So it might be real.
Yeah.
She might have
yeah.
just been real
also,
tired.
I like thinking that I could use that.
Yeah.
How
I
about
like
not
that
being
too.
attending due to disillusionment?
That's why I'm considering breaking up with the United States. It's
Yeah.
Exhaustion and
Oh,
disillusionment.
man.
Disillusionment.
Yes.
Yes.
Can we list that on our asylum forms? Like, can we get asylum? Because we're disillusioned.
I
Yeah.
can't. I just can't.
I just can't.
So yeah, the group released another album in 2000 called Forever, and then they went on hiatus, which I don't know. Is that funny? Is that ironic? I'm not sure. In the years since, they've gone on a couple of reunion tours and performed at the closing ceremonies at the Olympics in 2012. One of those reunion tours, it's called The Return of the Spice Girls, was announced in 2007. So this was, 10 years after kind of their heyday. And the tickets for the first date in London sold out in 38 seconds.
Oh.
So they added 16 more shows for London, and they all sold out in less than a minute.
Oh my
16
God.
more shows
Yeah.
sold out in less than a minute.
Yeah.
That is
In
insane.
London.
Uh-huh. So yeah, they were, they're still a pretty big deal. And they've talked about reuniting on and off over the years.
Yeah.
But Victoria Beckham has always sort of been the holdout because she says she's too busy with her fashion line. I think she maybe just doesn't need the money. I mean, her husband is
she's solid. She's
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
yeah. And I mean, I don't know if I was sleeping with David Beckham, I'm not sure I'd be like, yeah, I'll leave for a few months to go out on tour
Yeah.
with people.
No.
I think I'd
Yeah.
be good at home. So.
No.
It reminds me of, you saw that clip online where she was being interviewed about something and she was talking about how her humble beginnings and stuff like that. And he's off camera, not participating in this in any way, shape, or form. Like he's in a separate room. He can just hear her. And he's like, humble beginnings. Like, what are you talking about? And keeps pressing her on. And she's like, we had humble beginnings. And she's like, what car did your father drive? and then she was hesitantly acknowledged that he drove a Rolls Royce.
Oh.
And she referred to her humble beginnings.
I like that he called her on her shit, though.
I do too.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Rolls Royce. Jesus. That's Richie Rich.
Yeah. That's next level. That's not even just like, yeah, I mean, I was fine. That was like, no, we had money.
Well,
That was a
good
good-
time
yeah.
travel.
That was a good
How
time
did you
travel.
feel about Spice Girls when they were out?
I remember when the song Wannabe came out. I remember it was sort of at the end of, like, everything was sort of grunge for about 4 years. There wasn't a lot of pop music going on. And so this was kind of like turning the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Because then after this, and then a couple years later, there was Britney Spears and there was the Backstreet Boys. And the Backstreet Boys, I think, were actually later that same year. And it just sort of, the kind of pendulum went back the other way to more.
Maybe that's why I didn't
pop
like
type
it too,
music.
because I was fine with all the grunge and the
Yeah.
rock. I was like, we're good right here. Let's stay right here.
I'm
We
in
don't
the
need
zone,
to
yeah.
move. Yep. Mhm. All right. So my next one, I took a gamble and did true crime. So we'll see if I.
How dare you?
Did you do true crime
No,
for your
I
next one?
didn't.
Okay,
No, you're
good.
good. You're
all right,
good.
just
I'm
making
just
sure.
teasing. I'm just
all right.
teasing.
This is the Jenny Jones Show murder trial,
Oh, yeah.
this is a good one.
which I had
yeah.
completely forgot about until I looked this up. So this whole cluster fuck of a thing started in 1995, a little bit before this, when a 24-year-old man named Jonathan Schmitz was invited to appear on the Jenny Jones Show. And if you don't remember the Jenny Jones Show, this was very similar to like Sally Jesse Raphael, Ricky Lake. This was all like even Donahue a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe later Maury Povich.
Yeah.
It was, sort of the gotcha television. And you never knew what you would be, it could be good or bad kind of gotcha television.
I remember they had an episode called "You're Too Good Looking to Be Gay," and they just had people on that were just attractive and happened to be gay, and like everyone in the audience was like, "You're too good looking to be gay." Like that. That's the level of show. That's what we're talking
It
about
should have
here.
been "You're too good looking to be straight" because usually, it's the gay guys that are beautiful.
Yeah,
Good
exactly.
Lord.
I
And it was always this
tell
kind
that
of
to my brain with all the crushes I had on guys that I
Gay
found out
guys,
were
I know.
gay. Yeah.
And it always had, the banners at the bottom where it was something ridiculous. And it was probably like, Scott's too handsome to be gay or something like that. Yeah. So anyway, this was a segment on the Jenny Jones Show called Same-Sex Secret Crushes Revealed.
Playing with fire, Jenny
so,
Jones.
Jonathan Schmitz was told that someone had a crush on him, but he didn't know the title of this segment. He didn't know who had the crush on him. I imagine he assumed it was a lady.
And they did that a lot in the talk shows of the mid-'90s where they would bring people on and not tell them why so they could get the
Exactly.
reaction live
Yes.
on camera.
Which, I would think after a while, anyone in the 90s would have learned, maybe don't accept the invite
Right.
from whatever show this is. But,
Yeah.
nope, gotta have your fame. So on the show, Jonathan found out that his admirer was a male acquaintance, Scott Amador, a 32-year-old friend and neighbor. So Jonathan, when he found out, he sort of laughed awkwardly and said, "Oh, no, I'm heterosexual." And the taping ended without incident. And then 3 days later, Jonathan bought a shotgun, went to Scott's house, and shot him twice in the chest, killing him.
Wait a minute. The guy that had the crush killed Scott, or Scott
No.
killed
The guy
yeah,
that was crushed upon.
Yes, he killed. Okay, that's what I thought.
He
And then
killed
I got confused
Scott.
for a second.
Yes.
Okay.
Scott was the one with the crush.
Yes.
Poor
Okay.
Scott. Just crushing on a straight guy. Didn't know this.
Yeah.
So Jonathan, the killer, he confessed to the murder. And he claimed he was humiliated and emotionally disturbed by the surprise on TV. And his defense was about gay panic.
Oof.
That he felt confused and ashamed after being on national television and having a dude say that he was into him. That's enough for murder.
I mean, in my experience, gay panic is when, like, I go into a barbershop and I've got to butch it up. Like, that's gay panic. It's not someone says, "I like you" on TV. Like, that's not gay panic.
No. So anyway, Jonathan was convicted of second-degree murder, and he was sentenced to 25 to 50 years in prison. But that conviction was later overturned, and he was retried and convicted again in 1999. He ultimately served 22 years, but he was overturned because they were like, it makes sense. It was gay, and it was panic. So, anyone would do it kind of thing.
So
that's
he's
where
out,
we
he's
were.
just out on the streets now?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Probably panicking at every,
Is he going to get mad at us because we're talking about
Yep.
this?
He's going to hear this and he's going to have some more gay panic. So
Oh,
everybody
God.
watch the fuck out because this guy is unhinged. So the... But what's interesting is that beyond the trial itself and the murder, it became a legal and ethical scandal for the Jenny Jones Show.
Yeah.
And daytime TV as a whole. Like we said, all these shows are doing this sort of gotcha television. And The episode itself never aired, but clips were shown in court and on the news, which made it feel like it was televised. So everybody was seeing this.
Well, I was going to say, like, when you said he did it 3 days later, like, they couldn't have possibly recorded the show and edited it together and aired it in that amount of time. So this was all, I mean, I guess he was in front of a studio audience, so he maybe felt whatever he felt because of them, but it's not like millions of people had seen this.
Yeah, well, maybe. I mean, maybe he was closeted himself, and he was, freaking the fuck out because, oh God, someone's gonna think I'm gay now because a gay person likes me. Someone's gonna think I'm gay. Mm-hmm. How dare they? So Scott's family, the guy that was killed, they sued the show for wrongful death, claiming that the producers created a humiliating and unsafe environment by ambushing guests for shock value, which. Yep, that's what they did in the 90s.
Yeah, 1,000%.
But in 1999, a Michigan jury awarded the family $25 million. Unfortunately, that verdict was overturned by an appeals court in 2002. So, I think this, maybe some other things too, it led to a lot of scrutiny of these daytime talk shows, like I said, Jerry Springer, Maury, Ricky Lake. And it became a sort of case study for media ethics, like what responsibility do producers have for the well-being of their guests? Although it's interesting now when we think about reality television and how much producers are behind the scenes machining, all of these things. Like, is that ethical discussion just cute now and quaint? Like, I don't know, but and it's often cited in discussions around the gay panic defense, which some states have outlawed or limited. I imagine it's going to become national law now. Yeah, that if someone gay likes you, you can murder them.
That's fair.
Go for it.
Go in. Yep.
What a world!
That is a world.
World. I remember you told us that you went to see a movie once with a friend, and he made you have a gay chair between you two. So that feels like gay panic.
That does feel like gay panic. Like your gay might rub off on me.
Exactly. But at least he didn't have a gun, and at least he wasn't, just ready to shoot anyone that might think he's gay.
And even, I know now, and even then, I think I probably knew that it's like nobody coming in this theater is like, that's not when you see two men sitting within, 2 feet of each other, nobody's like, they fucking. Like, nobody's thinking that.
There's hand jobs happening right now. Look at those seats.
Nobody just sees other people, whether it's two men or a man and a woman or anything, and be like, they're doing it. Like, that's just not what enters people's minds.
I was just trying to think of, like, when you go into a movie theater and I see people together, unless they're doing something really odd, I don't even pay attention. There's no thought of my part. They're like, oh, those must be a couple. Those are two brothers. Yeah. Like, there's nothing that ever occurs. Why would that ever occur? It's only if
then? You're having some dickish behavior am I paying attention to you.
Yes, so, and then I notice or something, Or if a random guy sits next to Amy and makes comments, I always notice that. But
that's reprehensible.
Reprehensible. What a nut. Oh, okay. I did a movie. We just switched spots.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, this feels like this very opposite weird. Day. Me doing true crime.
And the only reason that I'm doing this is because I want to be clear that in 1997, I did not see this movie.
Oh.
I have now since seen this movie quite a bit solely because of my husband, because my husband's favorite Christmas movie is Chevy Chase's Christmas Vacation. Okay. Mm-hmm. Which means that a lot of times when they show that movie around Christmas, they do like a marathon of all the movies, and he is more than happy to leave that on the TV.
Oh.
Which brings us to 1997 and Vegas Vacation.
Oh, wow. This is cinema at its finest.
It is. There are so many plot problems, holes, weird behavior. I don't even know how they got this done and said yes and sent it, but I'm assuming it did well. I don't. So Clark Griswold finally gets that bonus that he's worried about in Christmas Vacation. Good. This is how we tie it together. This is how we tie it together.
The loosest of ties.
The loosest of ties. And he says, guess what? We're all going to go on vacation. And they're like, okay, great. Where are we going? And he's like, Vegas, because your mom and I are going to renew our vows.
Oh.
Okay. So a couple things.
Yeah.
1. 2, family vacation in Vegas feels like an oxymoron. Like, what
are your
I enjoy Vegas. I actually do. Mike and I have been. I have no desire to take anyone else in my family with us when we go to Vegas. Like, it's not like a family friendly, like I want to, walk around. Audrey and Eddie are still, for some reason, teenagers.
Yeah. And
They
this
have
is
not
their,
aged.
Fourth recasting or
Yeah,
something?
yeah. And we lost some good actors and replaced them with subpar. And Audrey's whole personality changes in this movie. She's like a very like timid, sort of tame, like wilting like flower. Whereas, when
And
we saw her in
before she has
Christmas,
not been.
no, it was way better. Yeah. Anyway. So first, of course, we have to bring in Cousin Eddie. So they visit him on the way to Vegas.
All right.
Uh-huh.
And he happens to live on a former hydrogen bomb test site.
Oh, that explains a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Eddie's like, yeah, I'm down for Vegas. I can meet you there, whatever. We get the idea that Eddie could pop in at any time. So the next thing that we know is that they're going to take a tour of the Hoover Dam. They've arrived in Vegas. We're looking for things to do. They tour the Hoover Dam. And right away, Clark gets up to hijinks and gets trapped in the Hoover Dam and causes a leak that he tries to fix with bubble gum. And when it continues to leak, he instead scales a bunch of scaffolding to escape and just keeps the ordeal to himself. Never tells anyone that he was separated from the group or caused a leak or anything, which to me actually seems like the most unbelievable part of the movie because this guy in every other aspect, character and actor, I believe, would never not brag about that he scaled the
all the
Hoover Dam.
attention.
Yeah. That makes no sense to me, but okay. So we have that little scene, which is super fun. The next evening, a dress for Ellen and tickets for the family arrive, and the tickets are to a Wayne Newton concert. So they go, and they soon find out that Wayne himself sent the tickets and the dress because he has a crush on Ellen, since he sings to her and tries to bring her up on stage. Okay, we just move on from that. We don't talk about it. We move on from it. So the next day, they all agree to have an alone day. And in a tight 24 hours, Clark develops the worst gambling problem in the history of gambling problems, okay? He is down a lot of money within hours. He's reading books at the buffet. He doesn't know what he's doing, but we get the sense that it's bad. Rusty, on the other hand, becomes a successful high roller after securing a fake ID with the name Nick Papagiorgio.
Is this Ethan Embry? Is the
Yes,
kid? Okay,
yeah.
Yeah.
Audrey starts to hang out with some exotic dancers led by her cousin. And this is where I mentioned, like, she's this shrinking flower that's just surprised by all this behavior. And the Juliette Lewis version was so much more like edgy and snarky and would have been so much more fun in Vegas. Like, I understand why as an actress she didn't want to do this. I get it. And probably she was too old at that point to pass off as a teenager. But man, we should have at least kept her vibe and her attitude because what came out was like subpar. But in the meantime, Wayne Newton and Ellen's relationship progresses terrifically. Yeah, just moving right along.
And how would we describe Wayne Newton? Like he
seemed
middling singer?
Waxy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I keep thinking of Robert Goulet and Will Ferrell's Robert Goulet, and it's kind of a similar vibe,
It is
right?
a similar vibe. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think for someone who was a star, like with Vegas fame, like to do the movie was a little strange, but yet I could almost see like he maybe wasn't totally in on the joke.
Yeah.
Like he kind of, I don't know.
It's like, ooh, I'm
That's
going to get to
speculation,
romance
but-
Beverly D'Onofrio or whatever. Yeah. D'Angelo, D'Onofrio, same thing,
Bevy D.
Bevy D. So in the meantime, Clark gambles away the family's $22,600 family bank account. I don't know why it's a family bank account, or why they all know what's in there
And at
exactly.
this
But
point, shouldn't Beverly have just cut him off and be like, Chevy Chase is a dick. We
He's
gotta
an idiot.
supervise him at all times.
Idiots. She is furious, and she and the
Okay.
kids both storm out and leave. And Audrey, seeing no other option, secures a job as a go-go dancer with her new exotic friends
Okay.
because I guess she's also a dum-dum and just couldn't return home. She thought she was a child of the streets. And so
In this tight 24 hours.
In this tight 24 hours. Rusty, on the other hand, wins 4 cars randomly. 4
good
different
job,
cars.
Ethan Embry.
So, which is sort of begs the question why we weren't ever discussing that he had 4 cars or money this whole time. Because Eddie steps in and gives Clark some money that he had buried in his front yard.
boy.
Yeah. And Clark loses it and then decides that all he really wants is his family. So he's just going to leave and go find his family, which is great timing for Eddie because I took your money, lost it, and then had an epiphany and said, no, but actually family is the only thing that matters. So for some reason, they all come together and they agree to play one last $2 game of Keno. And the only other guy...
So no lessons have been learned.
No lessons have been
No.
learned. The only other guy in the Keno place is an elderly man that they're kind of annoyed with, but then they end up talking to. They lose. He wins a bunch of money, the old or gentleman. Promptly dies. So they're standing there. Personnel comes in to take him away, and you see the ticket flutter to the ground, the winning ticket. And of course, Clark puts his foot out, steps on it, and brings it to himself. Just under his shoe, never says anything. So now they have all this money, and they get their vows renewed. They pay Eddie back the $5,000, and they all hightail it back to home in Rusty's 4 cars. Everybody gets to drive a different car home.
Based on my experience watching Ocean's 11, I feel like security in Las Vegas is different than the way they're portraying it.
A
in
little
this
tighter.
movie. I
agree.
feel like somebody's going to check Nick Papagiorgio's SOCH before they give him 4 cars.
I agree. Because the 4 cars were just in the parking lot.
Uh-huh.
But again, my takeaway from the story is one, I think you need to spend some more time parenting. Audrey panicked so much and became a go-dancer that quick. Like, she's not set up for any of life's ups and downs.
No.
2, Rusty, we were down to our last $2 and you were letting us play Keno and you had 4 cars sitting in the parking lot. Like,
Yeah, like he's not putting it together.
No.
Yeah.
He's missing
like-
something up
No.
here.
yeah, we could have sold. I mean, a lot of problems with that. But they see no problems at the end. They all drive a separate car home. It's a piece of cinema. I don't know. I don't know. The first time I watched it, like, there's some nostalgia in the Christmas Vacation one. Like,
Yeah.
there's some funny scenes. It is what it is. It's supposed to be that. Like, it's somewhat campy. There's some funny lines. Like, but this one just felt so haphazardly thrown together, and
It feels like a money grab. Like somebody was just like,
Yeah.
people have goodwill towards the Christmas Vacation movie,
Yes.
so let's see if we can squeeze some more money out of people.
yes, absolutely. And that's why I think it always gets coupled. Like, you see it a lot at Christmas time because that's when they play all of them, like the European Vacation,
Yeah.
the original Chevy Chase Vacation, Christmas Vacation, now, and then Vegas Vacation. Yeah, it's over. And I think they knew that after this one. Like, we've run out of
They
story
made
ideas.
another one that's, I think, Eddie's Island Vacation. That's just got Eddie. The
What?
Chevy Chase and
Boy.
Beverly J. Angel, I don't think are in.
I didn't
think.
know that.
Yeah, it's like Eddie goes to Hawaii or something like that.
Oh, I don't know if Eddie can carry a whole movie.
Yeah,
No.
in no world do I want to watch him for an
No.
hour and a half.
Yeah.
No.
Uh-huh.
No, he's funny. Like, the only movie that I really enjoy him in is Christmas Vacation because it's a little less sad. Otherwise, his roles are always like, oh my God, it's so alarming. But wow. So if you're not doing anything tonight,
I'm not gonna watch that.
don't watch Vegas Vacation.
Just keep doing nothing. Here's a different movie from 1997.
Oh, good.
Oh, hopefully better.
Well, probably. I think probably.
Well,
It's called My Best Friend's Wedding.
Oh, this is
fuck, I
definitely
loved
better.
this movie. I still have the soundtrack to this movie
Uh-huh.
on CD. Oh God.
Oh
So-
man.
It stars Julia Roberts as Jules Potter, a woman who's about to make a long series of very bad choices. Jules and her best friend Michael, who's played by Dermot Mulroney.
A very lovely Dermot Mulroney.
They've agreed that if they are both single when they turn 28, they can,
Once I became an adult and turned 28, I'm like, what the fuck is that about?
28, yeah.
yeah, that's an insanely young age to be like, we're
Yeah.
just throwing the
Marriage
towel
pact.
in here.
We
Yeah,
are done.
I'll marry whoever's around. I
Yeah.
just need to get married. Anyhow, as luck would have it, it's 3 weeks before Jules' 28th birthday, and Michael gives her a call and lets her know that he's engaged to be married in just 4 days.
Yep.
Which again,
Quick
it's like,
turnaround wedding.
yeah, if that's your best friend, I feel like,
You would know.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So the woman Michael is set to marry, her name is Kimmy Wallace, and she's played by young Cameron Diaz. That character is only 20 years old,
Yeah.
which again
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
but not the age to get married, I don't think.
No. And
Yeah.
like she's leaving college. And again, I didn't really register all of this until
know,
later. I was
yeah.
like, what are we watching?
Yeah, it's rough. Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
But her-
man, I loved it.
Her dad owns the Chicago White Sox, so
Yeah, that's true.
she's got that going for her.
Yeah.
So now Jules has decided that she's in love with Michael and sets out to sabotage the wedding. First, she tries to humiliate Kimmy at a karaoke bar, and that doesn't work because Kimmy's just too damn perky for her own good. And
just
I
so
don't think
sweet.
I just don't think humiliation is something that sort of registers with her. Then she tries to get Kimmy to convince her dad to offer Michael a job, knowing that that would piss Michael off. But that doesn't work either the first time she tries. So she's not really making any progress. So Jules calls her other best friend, noted homosexual George Downs.
Noted homosexual.
She asks George to come to Chicago and help her ruin this wedding.
And it's Rupert Everett.
Yes, it's
who was
Rupert
also
Everett.
beautiful.
Yes.
Oh God.
So Jules, to try to make Michael jealous, Jules tells him that she's engaged to George. So again, this is sort of like, but you guys are best friends. Like, wouldn't you?
And he was also like, no, he's too
Right,
good looking
yeah.
to be gay. So, yeah.
I've seen the
it's
Jenny Jones show.
Yeah.
At some point, doesn't he say, I really thought he was gay? And she's like, he does that. It's a joke. I'm like, oh, this is so 1997.
Yeah.
So against his better judgment, George kind of plays along with a little charade, and then also leads the whole wedding party in a rousing rendition of "I Say a Little Prayer" in a crowded restaurant, and somehow nobody except for Michael detects that he is a noted homosexual.
Yeah.
Like, nobody.
Everyone's like, it's
Wasn't there a pair of like
It's
lobster
fine.
hands at one point
Yep,
too?
there
Yeah,
were.
yeah. Oh man.
So the day before the wedding, Jules hacks the email account because that's the level we're at now. She hacks the email account of Kimmy's dad and writes an email to Michael's boss asking him to fire Michael so Kimmy's dad can hire him. And I don't think that's how these things work.
No,
I
no,
don't. Yeah.
that doesn't track.
It's also not something you do to someone you love.
Yep,
Right.
Yep, this is getting real dark.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I get phishing emails, about
Yes.
owing somebody money for tolls that are more
the time.
believable
What's
than
with the
that.
tolls one
I get
lately?
a lot of tolls ones.
A lot
Yeah.
of tolls ones.
Yeah. So Jules doesn't send the email. She kind of has second thought. She just ends up saving it to the drafts folder because, why would you not just leave that there for this man to discover at some point? Of course, Kimmy's dad ends up sending the email unknowingly. So Michael gets a call from his boss. Michael's pissed and argues with Kimmy. They call off the wedding. So mission accomplished, apparently, I guess.
Really, Jules is not being a good friend.
No.
She doesn't really understand friendship.
No.
The only issue is that neither Michael nor Kimmy told anyone that they had called off the wedding. So wedding day arrives and the preparations are happening as if there was no argument, as if, everything's just going according to plan. Jules decides that Michael's wedding day is the best day to finally confess her love to him.
Jesus.
And she kisses him. And Kimmy sees this and she gets pissed and she drives away. Right? This is all in Chicago. Amy, you've lived in Chicago. It's real easy to have a 3-car chase in
So
Chicago on a
easy.
Sunday afternoon.
Yep.
So Jules finally catches up to Michael at Union Station, which is near downtown Chicago. She confesses everything, and for some reason, he forgives her.
Yeah.
I don't think I would do that right away. At least I think I'd have to.
No, that's too psycho.
Yeah.
That is too psycho to
That's
come
when
back
you
from.
start thinking like, oh, wow, okay, my friend has changed, and
Right.
we got to reevaluate.
This is what's wrong with society right now, is that we are not okay calling out psycho behavior. We're like, well, they were having a bad day,
Yeah,
gay
yeah,
panic,
yeah.
whatever. No, that's insane, and we are no longer friends.
Yeah.
Like how do you come back from that, honestly, truly?
And I mean, well, okay, we'll circle back to that. So Jules goes looking for Kimmy and obviously finds her in a bathroom at Comiskey Park, where the White Sox play. And
Yeah,
because
super easy.
Right, because again in Chicago the laws of space and time, at least on this day, just don't exist. It's real easy to get from downtown to the south side to
Lickety
Comiskey Park. Go in, and I'm
Just
sure there's only one
randomly
ladies'
find her.
room in
Yep,
all of
yep,
Comiskey
yep.
Park.
Just
Yeah.
find her. Yeah, it's
No
easy.
problem.
Jules and Kimmy kind of have it out while a crowd of ladies waiting to take a piss kind of all watch it go down. Kimmy forgives her, and then they both head out for the wedding. And again, I don't think I would have forgiven her that quickly, especially if you're Kimmy, because this is all you know of this woman. You've known her for 4 days.
4 days. And you're like, this bitch is psycho.
Yes, she's been bad and mean and dishonest with you the entire time. Like,
And stealing her man.
right.
But-
And with Michael, they at least had a history
Yes.
before this episode of bad choices. So
But she's good looking, so all's forgiven.
That's true. Yeah.
I did have some trouble finding the details about it on the internet, but I remember a long time ago I read an article about this movie. And they were discussing how they had to add in the scene in the women's restroom with those two fighting because test audiences had watched it and they were just like, the Jules character someone needs to call her out on her bullshit.
Yeah.
Because that wasn't in the original. It was her she confessed to Michael. Michael forgave her, and then they went to the wedding, and that was it.
That was actually smart. Focus groups don't usually help movies, I don't think.
Right.
But this
Yeah,
may be
that
a
one-
situation where they did. Yeah.
And you can kind of tell if you watch that scene, like it's pretty obvious that Julia Roberts and Cameron Diaz are wearing wigs because like it had been months since they filmed and they had different hairstyles. So it was, yeah. But it was smart for them to add that in because it would have been
Very much.
Yeah, very, for sure.
And I also I guess want to point out that for young people listening to this, if you're 28 and you're not married, you're fine.
Yeah, you're so fine.
It's
Yeah.
okay. It's
Yeah.
okay.
That's
It's
not-
okay.
And actually, yeah, you don't need to make any plans about, oh my God, if I'm single at any age, I'm just going to marry my rando.
marriage packs in general, not a good idea.
Not a good idea.
Not a good idea.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not necessary to kind of compare where you are in your life
Not
path
at
to
all.
where someone else is.
Nope. This was also kind of a gamble to make Julia Roberts less than just beautifully
Right.
likable.
It's
Like
true.
this
yeah.
was, because she was it at the time. So to even have her play some gray areas was pretty risky, I bet.
And they didn't. I'm sure she had representation and management stuff. They were just like, no, just keep making movies,
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
be, America's sweetheart because you're making a lot of money doing that, and so am I. Then,
Yeah.
But this was this a hit?
yeah,
Yeah, it
'cause
was, yeah.
I remember I loved it at the
I
time.
did too. Yeah.
it was a big hit movie, and I think it made like $100 million. And I remember at the time though, it didn't make as much money as like some other Julia Roberts
Yeah.
movies did, because again, she was not ideal through this whole thing.
Sure.
Her character wasn't anyway. But I think it was Wikipedia or something when I was reading about this when I was getting ready. They were just like, oh, the huge hit, one of the biggest hits of the whole year. And like, it was this glowing thing. I'm like, who wrote this?
Yeah, no.
Did Rupert Everett write this? Like, did he, like, is that what he's doing now? Like, who is...
Who got hold of this?
Uh-huh.
I mean, and for better or worse, this was a bit of gay representation that we
Yeah.
didn't have at the time.
Nope.
So, and at the end, it was a lovely scene where, like she didn't win her goal, but
Right.
she got to keep one friend at least.
Yeah.
Even though, he maybe should have looked at their friendship too. Be like, girl, you psycho.
Yeah.
But that it's interesting. You like to look at it from like the timeline perspective too, because like 2 days before, George had left Chicago, and then Jules is at the wedding reception, sitting by herself, talking to him on the phone, and then he shows up and dances with her, and that's kind of how it ends. I'm like, this motherfucker flew back to Chicago from New York, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it was almost, I do remember, it was almost presented as like, oh, they're going to have the romance. Like suddenly, he's not gay anymore.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I do remember that feeling too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. The scene we don't have is them on a plane to their honeymoon being like, so we're not friends with her anymore, right, honey? Like, we're done. Like, I mean, we made it nice for the day,
We
but
can't trust Jules.
We're good on
Yeah.
that.
Good stuff.
good. Yeah, that is a good one.
Yeah.
That, if you are bored tonight, is worth a watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, it actually is. It was, I haven't seen that in a long time. I bet there would be a lot of like, oh God, kind of moments.
I was
rewatching that.
Trying to think of like, when Barbie and Oppenheimer are out and it was like people were seeing those back to back.
Yeah.
Like if Vegas Vacation and My Best Friend's Wedding were out at the same time, what that would be called.
Eesh.
My Best Friend's Vegas.
Oh boy. I mean, if Barbenheimer worked, this could work.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Fuzzy Memories is a Broads and Books production. It's hosted by Heath Smith, Aaron Johnston, and Amy Lee Lillard. Big thanks to our supporters on Patreon, especially those at the Make Me Famous level, including Haley Scarpino, Nick Thornton, Daniela Barzalo, Matthew Serbach, and Last Name Greatest. Sign up at our Patreon for bonuses and new stuff. And be sure to follow us at Fuzzy Memories Pod on Instagram for clips and highlights. See you next time. I'd just like to point out that the pings that were probably recorded here were from your husband.
Oh.
And they sent us a picture that we need to describe for our listeners. So
I haven't seen this picture yet either.
will you take a stab at describing that, Aaron?
I don't.
This is from a gala that you attended with your husband.
All right. This is a. I want you to imagine that Heath has a somewhat confused / worried look on his face.
Okay.
Skepticism. It's skepticism.
Yes, yep. As there's a large eagle that looks like it could be ready to attack, but that's just sort of on a nice backboard of
This is at an event center, by the way. This is not outdoors.
No, this is not wild. There's 2 sort of off-placed eggs that could make for a better joke if you had lined up better with them.
I should have knelt down and acted like they were my breasts.
Oh, I was going to go balls.
Yeah, I was going
Gigantic
balls, but that would have worked too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then on the third one is sort of over, and there's a tiny stuffed bald eagle popping out of that one.
Here, you can take a look because you haven't seen yourself in this.
Yeah. The eagle, I guess the eagle itself behind me is what's made of bubble wrap. I think the rest of it, there's some bubble wrap in the nest area, but a lot of it looks like it's just sticks.
Should we make this picture your new picture on our website?
I don't know. I mean, I've got Jesus on there.
I know. I like you and JC. I like that a lot.
Your facial expression makes that photo.
Yeah, this is good. We'll ask Michael if we can share that on social so that people can see what we're talking about.
And Heath as well. We'll ask his permission.
I guess I should say.
Ask the photographer, but not the subject.
We don't ask for consent here. We don't do it.
He's like, I have a new unmitigated gall.